Remember how you loved the stories at bedtime about princesses and fairy godmothers? Well, you may want to hold on tighter to your teddy bear and keep that nightlight on, because these are not your mother's bedtime stories. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Not Your Mother's Bedtime Story. I am the mother, Karen, and I'd like to introduce my three daughters who have joined me in this paranormal podcast.
Good evening, everyone. This is Colleen, the oldest.
And I'm Chrissy, the middle child.
And I'm Sherry, the youngest. Cheers.
Still drinking.
She drinks a lot.
Still drinking. And I would like to introduce my two sisters. I have my oldest sister, Debbie.
Hi, I'm Debbie.
And
the
Nancy. My youngest
I'm Nancy.
sister.
We brought Nancy back again. We had so many good stories from Nancy from the first time that Nancy's back again. But bringing Debbie along, the older sister who was referenced in the first episode, if you remember, who was babysitting down the road. It was a little far.
Oh, glad to be here.
So welcome, Debbie. Welcome, Nancy. So you guys are here tonight to talk about another incident that happened at the farm, the very same farm that was the source and the site of our first podcast episode. And you guys have some stories to tell about things that happened before Grandpa passed away. So I'll let you set the scene and tell the story of the unusual happenings that happened out there.
Okay, it was, I think it still was a fairly good summer night that I was with Dad, and of course I forgot to bring my Prazolam along, so I was really kind of having a restless night, and Dad's always restless anywhere, so you always kind of have to keep half awake to listen for him. And I kind of drifted off, and it just seemed like somebody came into the room, and I looked, and there was a man standing there, and he wasn't a large man, but he had on a shirt like my grandpa Buntemeyer would wear, or my Uncle Sid. But I learned from my brother that my Uncle Sid didn't wear a straw hat, but my grandpa did. So, and he had the button-down shirt that Grandma would always iron, and then the nice pants, because they always dress nice then. And he had a straw hat. He just gets in bed with me, tips his hat down over his face, and says, "We're in for a long haul." And boy, we were too, because he was diagnosed in April, went in hospice in June, and he didn't pass until December. So it was a long haul for all of us kids and for him. So that was pretty much most of what I had experienced, but I know there was other things that happened, especially at night. To Nancy, for one.
Yep. And I too had a very similar experience. Us siblings all took turns spending the night with Dad, who was relocated to a room which we called the living room. It was like our front room. A hospital bed was put in there, and then we all took turns then when we stayed, sleeping in what would have been Mom and Dad's room. It was my turn to spend the night. Everything had gone as normal. And again, like Debbie said, Dad was restless. You would hear him get up in the middle of the night occasionally, and he used a walker, so you would hear that too. So sleep was not the best. But I felt at one point that I had been awakened, and I thought I heard Dad or someone in the hallway, and I thought, well, it must be him. And next thing I knew, I felt like pressure on the bed and the sound of shuffling feet on the floor. And it was though someone was making their way around the bottom of the bed with assistance of pushing down on the bed and making their way around, shuffling their feet. Side note, before our mother passed, she had horrible arthritis and did walk with a shuffle and did use other items for assistance as she moved through spaces. So as I'm laying there, I feel this presence or whatever it is making its way around the bottom of the bed, and it made its way around the side of the bed, and it seemed to be standing next to the bed about ready to get in. And I'm thinking, is this my father? Is he confused? So I went to raise my arm up to say, hey, what are you doing? And at that point in time, against my arm, I felt this soft curl touch it. And then I felt the pressure on the bed as though the covers were being weighted down. And whoever it was got in bed and laid next to me. So I fully turned around after I'm like frozen in fear, wondering what the heck this was, and looked and saw nothing. And then just laid back around and said, hi, Mom.
You were so brave. You were so brave. I know, like the detail that seals it for me is like the soft curls, because like the hair, I mean, our grandmother, was notorious for her beautifully curled hair. I mean, she had her hair appointment every Friday. And so that was like her staple, and the soft hair curls. I remember how they felt. And so to have that.
The soft hair curl brushed against my arm.
It wasn't Grandpa Buntemeyer
and
either,
it's
was
like,
it?
yeah, that wasn't Dad, and it's like, and it wasn't the guy with the straw hat. No, that I felt it was a visit from Mom, and then I fully became awake, and I just looked at the clock, and of course I'm laying in the room by myself, and it was like 10 after 4 in the morning.
And so, setting the scene a little bit with the bedroom, you would sleep. So you'd walk into the door, the bed would be right in the middle, and Grandpa would normally sleep on the side closest to the door. Grandma would normally sleep on this other side closer to the window, right? On the other. So when you would sleep there.
Actually, they had.
No, Grandma slept.
Okay, so when the person was getting. Well,
they ended up with twins.
Okay.
But then we had the one bed when we stayed there. But.
So I was just trying to see if she was getting into her normal spot or if she was taking the other spot.
Yes.
Okay.
She was.
Okay.
She was getting into her normal spot. That would have been her place.
So that was nearest the door, Nancy?
Yeah. And I wasn't the only sister. Mom always slept nearest the door.
And that's where she was going. Yep.
Yep.
And that's my story, right?
That's where she was going, her spot.
And I didn't realize, that this had happened to Nancy until I told her about it. And she says, the same thing happened to me. And I'm like, what? And again, I was by myself, just Dad and I were in the house by ourselves. And Dad, I'd put him down. Actually, I knew he was snoring because I knew he was sleeping because I could hear him snoring in the other room. And he had a little bell. If he needed to get up, he would ring this little bell. But it was just like, I just put him to bed. I knew he was asleep because I could hear him snoring. And I was just like, okay, I'm laying in the bedroom next to the living room. And I kind of just drifted off, and then I felt somebody like pushing the whole bed, like bumping it, and I was like, what is this, an earthquake or something? And it was just like, it just felt somebody like bumping the bed. And I was like, what's going on? And then I felt, like you said, it was like a July night. I just had like a sheet on me, it was warm. And then I felt the sheet tighten as somebody laid on top of the sheet next to me. And I was like, my heart was just like, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. And it was like, what's going on here? And I was just like, and then I felt it like snuggle up against me. I didn't feel the hair, but I felt somebody laying, like spooning, like right up against me. And I was like, please go away. I tell you, and I didn't realize it could have been Mom at that point, but I was just like, please go away. Please go away. I was just like croaking it out. And then I finally got the nerve to look over next to me, and I was like, nobody there. I mean, the pillow wasn't indented, like somebody was laying there. There was nothing there. And I'm like, oh my God, and it was
Maybe she listened to you and did go away.
She did go away, if I thought that was Mom, I wouldn't have said that. But I was just so.
If anybody's keeping track, that would make Mom the little spoon.
No, somebody's laying next to me in bed.
Your reaction is more like what I would do. So I guess like mother, like daughter, I know where I get it from. I would not be as brave as Nancy and say like, well, hi, how you doing? Like, no, get away.
Well, I didn't really want her to interact with me, but
So you all stayed out. You all stayed out there. You stayed out there quite often. Was this the only? Did it only happen one time, or did it happen multiple times?
yeah, no, it was only this time, only this once.
Well, I know in September we got night care for Dad, so we would take weekends then. Yeah, so then we had to spend weekends.
I wonder, did anybody ask the night care people if they ever had any creepy things happen?
They never said. The only other thing I heard because right outside the bedroom door, straight line to the bathroom. And I was laying there one night and I could hear like somebody shuffling in their their sneakers coming down that hallway. And I'm like, and it would be
like
Mom coming shuffling from the bathroom back to the bedroom. I heard little just kind of like shuffling your little feet along. And I'm like, oh, what the heck's that? But it was, and I'm like, then it disappeared. It was just like you heard it for like a couple seconds or something. You heard just a little shuffle and then it was gone. And I'm like, okay, this is the farm. Like you said, we've had so many experiences at the farm. So, yeah.
Oh, so they say when people are near the end of their life that they do see visions of people from the past, that their presence is there to make the transition easier to that next step. And I know we even heard a story from Grandpa himself that had the same experience. Does anyone want to fill the details in on that?
Oh, where he's been slapped.
Yeah, Mom was telling these stories to us, and we were talking about it, and we had the Chicago Cubs game on, if anybody's go Cubs. And we were telling the story about this, and he comes in and we'll try to do our grandpa's voice the best we can, but very nonchalantly is like, oh, feels like somebody's getting into bed with you? Yeah. I've been slapped too. It was just very matter of fact.
And the funny thing too about our grandpa is he had the worst hearing in the world, and so for him to all of a sudden, he's intently watching the Cubs game, didn't really get in on our conversation, and then all of a sudden for him to go, yeah, what are you talking about? Oh yeah, somebody get into bed with you? Yeah, oh, yeah, it was just so matter of fact and just so grandpa that it didn't even faze him. So he's probably the bravest of all of us to have someone crawl into bed with him every night. And he didn't say how many times it had happened to him, but
I wonder how many times she slapped him.
I think he had a few coming.
I believe you're right.
But he did say, before he passed, though, he was still kind of with it, and he knew what they were giving him. He says, I know what they're giving me, and I know what's going to happen. And pretty soon he says, what are they waiting for? he just looked off into the distance there, and then he,
Oh, we
yeah,
were with him. We were together. You were on one side, I was the other, and we were holding his hands. And he just looked up past us and said, "Well, what are you waiting for?"
and he went into a
And
coma.
it's like someone was waiting for him. Someone was coming for him. And he went to sleep and never woke up.
Most peaceful death ever. Where Karen and I had to
Oh,
witness Mom.
very. No gasping. No, he
She was
was very peaceful.
Where Karen, remember with
Yes.
Mom that night, all she did was talk about dead
Right.
people.
That's what
We were there.
they were coming for.
They
her.
were coming for her.
Everybody she mentioned, yeah, they were all passed.
And I said, Debbie, she's seeing dead people, and it was like,
She had a room full.
oh, she had a room full. I'm surprised there was enough room for Debbie and me in
Yep.
that room. And it was like, geez, because she was seeing Nettie and
she was kind of giggling about
Right.
things.
And she was
Yeah.
smiling the whole
Just all
time.
these people from the past.
And she was smiling.
And so talk about how long gone had these people been that she was talking about?
Years. Like Nettie and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's been, geez, probably 40 years since Nettie had died or something,
oh my gosh,
maybe.
yeah.
Had to have been well over 50 years.
Oh, and Lynn and Charlie.
60 years.
Yeah.
Lynn and Charlie.
And who was Nettie?
Oh, right. She was just a friend of Grandma and Grandpa Lauritsen.
Mm-hmm.
And Nettie and Jerry Ray. Yep. Actually, my mom always said that Grandma was always a little bit jealous of Nettie because Nettie kind of had a crush on Grandpa and would flirt with him. So,
Wow.
Oh, everybody had a crush on Grandpa.
Right.
He's such a little charmer.
Yeah.
Everybody liked
Nettie
Grandpa.
and Jerry are buried right next to Grandma and Grandpa.
And so talk a little bit about that too, because if I recall correctly, and again, my memory might not serve me correctly because apparently we all know I drink too much. But wasn't there a group of people that would, Grandma and Grandpa, their friends, that they would get together on a regular basis? And wasn't there another house nearby where they used to party a lot in the basement, and sometimes they can still hear
that was
as
Grandma
if
and
there's
Grandpa's
parties going on in the
No,
basement?
Grandpa's house.
that was Grandpa's house.
Okay, can we? So
that was Mom's.
That's where she grew up,
Mom's
right?
dad's Yes, she grew up there, and I know she in the middle of the night was coming down the stairs or coming home and going up the stairs and saw something fluttering, something white, misty, fluttering at the stairway, and she just ran past it and went to her room. But we did know the people that moved in there years later after Grandpa had passed, and did a lot of remodeling and everything. But we asked them about it, and my sister Debbie said, I dream about that house so much. Do you ever see me? I haunt that place, basically. And they said, no, but we feel a lot of joyfulness and laughter. You almost hear the laughter in the
Something
basement.
about when they go, it feels like a party had been going on.
It feels like a party. There was a shuffleboard down there. There was a bar.
There was a jukebox, right?
Oh, poker tables. And I mean, the parties were just grand down there.
So now we know where we all get it from.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and that's what I was,
There it
I like
is.
to think that, at the time, all of those people that passed before were coming to get them to bring them to the party.
Yep.
And,
Yeah.
they're
No doubt,
continuing down there,
right.
having a good old time.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
During the
believe
party.
so.
Yeah.
That Christmas table that would stretch. And I mean, we're talking about a kitchen that was probably the size of Karen's bathroom, and I don't even think it was that big. and they fed all these people. I mean, there was probably, oh God, Nancy, Karen, how many people were in that stretch between the dining room and the living room?
Oh,
From
my
one
gosh.
door in the dining room. Now we're talking a big house. So from one end to the other. And we all sat there, and everybody had their dress shirts on and their ties. And
Had to be 30
Dressed to the
30
nines.
people. I
Yep.
would think it had to be at least
so
30
it
people.
was really quite the.
Right.
Yeah, easy. If
30
not
plus.
more.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
it was a great house. It really was full of fun and love.
So it kind of gives you a good feeling to think that when it's your time to go, that all the people that you know loved and lost are there to meet you and help you along. But I never heard that story, Debbie, that you told about your grandpa and seeing him saying it was going to be a long haul. I had not heard that story. So it's just, you know, even that, it was just kind of giving you a heads up, giving you a warning that, okay, we're all here, we're all ready, we know it's happening, it's just gonna be a while, so you need to prepare yourself. And that, I hadn't heard that story.
And that vision of him just laying back in bed, bringing that hat down over his face and saying, crossed his arms over and says, we're in for a long haul. And it was just, I mean, I really came awake and I had to look who's in bed with me now. But it was,
And so the other question I have is that this only happened when you were alone, right? Because I know there was many
Yeah.
times where your spouses would stay out there with you.
yep.
So you
No,
never had
no.
any instances when they were there. It was
Nope.
just when you were there.
Yes.
just when
There's
we
no
were
room in
alone.
the bed.
Right. Yeah, no room in
It's
the
a little
bed.
crowded.
Ow,
There's
ow,
no
somebody
AC.
did my spot. Oh,
It's full.
there's more slapping going on then.
I was going to say, my spouse never stayed
Well.
with me out there. He came to visit and then he left.
Greg did, but he wasn't there that night. No.
Well, we were local. We were local. Karen wasn't.
But yeah, Greg had something going on, and I just went by myself. Right.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they never had, I mean, you know, I guess after that they never experienced anything either. It was, I mean, and did we say, okay, so just like ours, there's 3 girls and a boy in the family. So there's a brother that goes with these 3 sisters, just like we have a brother that
Right.
goes with us. So and the brother's name is Bruce.
Yeah.
Did he mention anything? Because he stayed out there quite a bit as well.
He didn't have the nighttime visit
Mm-mm.
like all us 3 girls did, but no, I think he had some episodes before which he didn't really talk about too much, but I know the farm's a special place, great memories, but some spooky ones too. And I know he had an episode when he was younger and in the shower in the basement, which was a very crude representation
Well,
of
he
a
could have been
shower.
slapped.
It was a spigot coming down from the ceiling, and there was a drain in the floor.
I think
know.
that's the scariest part of the whole story is the shower in the basement. Can we talk about the shower in the basement? That's so scary.
And a curtain to cover up the area so that if somebody came in the front door, they didn't see you, but that was your only privacy, basically. But at one point in time, with him being alone, he came home from work or school or something or other, was in the house by himself, going to take a shower, get ready to go out, threw the wash rag over his face, looked up to have the warm or the hot water pouring down on it. And just like that, somebody poked him in the eyes. And he whipped the shower, the wash rag off. And he whipped the wash rag off, looked around thinking maybe it was our prankster uncle that had snuck in the place and did this.
Right.
He was still alone.
Like-
And whatever happened there, but
I'm still skeptical about this one. Now, I love a good ghost story.
And so one second before, let me set the scene of this basement. So
It's all
because I
open.
think that right.
It
So
is
you
all
walk
open.
in the door and immediately you need to go down the stairs or up the stairs. So down the
Yes.
stairs goes into this very creepy basement. I'm going to
It's
say
like
that.
more. It's like it's a cellar. It's a cellar. Like a.
It's a cellar, and it had those stairs that you had to run up quickly because the people under the stairs could grab
Could grab your
through.
leg.
Right,
Oh, yeah,
so they
it
could
was
grab your
open.
ankle.
Yes.
And Bruce did that
And-
too.
Right. And
Yeesh.
it was all cement. You know, the shower was upgraded years later with some structure to it, kind of. But
sort of.
in this in this instance, so I'm just trying to set the scene that you could walk in, but if you were down there, you would be caught down there. There's no way for you to
There
escape
would be
quickly
nowhere for
without
you to
anyone
hide.
knowing
No.
that you had to clamber up the stairs to get out. So continue.
Yeah, but I still want to debunk that one. I don't know. Like, you ever taken a shower and like sometimes some drops fall harder than other
Yes,
drops,
yes.
and maybe a couple of drops fell into like the washcloth? I don't know. I love a
Right.
good ghost story, but I also love a little science here. Scientists and me will debunk that one.
Yeah,
a
you
little
could
bit.
debunk that.
That one, I
Probably
don't know.
easy enough.
Bruce needs to come on here and defend himself, but
The farmhouse that we have talked about it was built in the late 40s. Is that's
Yes.
right? Late
1949.
late 40s, and it, you know, even if supernatural things weren't happening to you, it did have like a creepy vibe to it. There were 2 bedrooms on the upstairs, and then there was also this attic, and there was an attic door that was probably like 3 feet tall. And it was a little door that I think all of the grandchildren were like petrified and thought that there was something living in this little
I did too
door.
as a kid.
100%.
Yes, even
Well.
Chrissy and I used to fight about who would have to sleep closest to the. I don't think we ever got sleep.
no, I remember like squishing into like a 6-inch space so that I could be like farther away from the door because I didn't want to be.
And then
closer
being
to
the oldest,
attic
that mom
door.
and dad would be like, "Colleen, just suck it up. You have to sleep closest to the door." Like,
You can do it. You can do it.
So again, let me set the stage. So you walk up the stairs and you either need to take a right or a left. If you take a right, you go immediately into a bedroom. That was the front bedroom. That was Bruce's bedroom growing up. If you took a left, you walk down a narrow hallway. First thing that you would meet before the bedroom would be this small creepy attic that, yes, 100% of us were petrified of. And then right beyond that was the door to the second bedroom, which was shared by all 3 sisters present here today growing up. So having that, it was probably, a few feet from the doorway
Just
to
a
that
few
creepy
feet.
attic. Yeah. So again, just kind of setting what your experience was.
And when the wind would blow, it would sometimes suck the door in and out.
It would-
of the door.
it would rattle.
Pull the door open. I had that experience.
Yes, it rattled.
after my older siblings married and moved out, guess who was left in the house by themselves when mom and dad bowled on Friday nights? So I go to bed. I'm laying up there. Several different things happen. One of them, I'm laying there. The wind is blowing. Everything. All of a sudden, I hear the attic door blow open.
No.
And it closes. And
No.
it opens.
Yay.
And it closes. Do I have the guts to get up to go out and shove that sucker shut and put something in front? No. I laid there frozen in fear, sweating, yet frozen in fear until like mom and dad come home. And I think then I drifted off. Another night, again, alone, laying in bed. We had at least a quarter of a mile long lane to access the house from the road. I went to bed. Mom and dad were gone. Everybody else is gone, married, moved out. And I'm laying upstairs. Just as I remember, I forgot to lock the door. I hear a car coming down the lane with no lights on. And it gets closer and closer. And of course, do I run down and lock it? No, I'm a teenager. I'm laying in my bed frozen in fear. I hear someone open the door and walk in. And I'm just waiting for my dad to let out his big yawn or for them to discuss their evening out or something like that. And I'm not hearing any voices. And I'm just laying there going, what do I do? What do I do? And whatever, time elapsed, they walked out. I heard the car go back down the lane, and nothing ever happened. And that was the last time I went to bed without locking the door when I was home alone.
Jeez.
Growing up
Yikes.
on the farm, we were surrounded by cornfields or bean fields or whatever. And my brother, our brother, was almost 10 years older than me, kind of into survivalist instincts. He always said, if you're home alone and you know someone's coming, he said, he was telling me how to survive, basically, hide behind the door going into the kitchen. And once they proceed into the house, he said, just run out the door and head into the cornfield and no one would ever find you. And of course, me being young, I'm like, well, I'll get lost in the cornfield. How will I ever get out? And he said, pick a row, run, you'll find a road, so it's like, even back then, it was kind of like, how do you survive in, situations like that? But boy, when this happened, scary things.
Yeah. So our genre just switched from
Yes, it did.
paranormal to true crime.
Yes, it did.
That could definitely have been a true crime.
But, was it really a person that walked in the house, or what was it I heard?
So Nancy, it just reminds me of the story. Do you remember when you and I were sleeping? I think this would have been the front bedroom, the first bedroom, and I had that voice that said to me, "I am God."
I am God.
I must have been like 5 years old or something like that.
I remember you saying that, I'm God. I didn't hear it, but you heard it. But yeah, there was always something creepy about that front bedroom. But I tell you what, it's like the whole upstairs, the whole house had a different vibe to it. But
It did. And I will say, even as an adult, we had a party out there. We had our kind of girls, night out there. And I remember I was pregnant with my second child. So I knew I was going to have to get up and go to the bathroom during the night. And Mom and I were sleeping up in that front bedroom. And I was like, I knew it was going to happen. And I was just not looking forward to it, because you have to go down a long, dark stairway down to the bathroom and go back up a long, dark stairway back to and it did just have that vibe that you didn't want to have that experience.
No, you did not.
Even knowing that there were other people in the house, it still didn't make me feel any better.
No. Twice as scary when nobody else is in the house, but even when somebody else is and it's the middle of the night, it just had that aura about it.
Yeah, well, Colleen, you have one other little story about the night when you slept. That was the back bedroom, right? And the desk out in the hallway the night before Grandma's funeral.
This was the night the night before my grandmother's funeral, and there were several of us that were sleeping at the farm that night. I think actually we were all crashed in the living room floor because beds were occupied. And there was like a crash in the night, and a book had fallen on the staircase. And so when we looked at what the book was, it was like a log from my great grandmother's funeral of what everyone had donated or given at that time that had fallen off the shelf and into the stairwell that night.
Wow.
Ooh. I don't know if I heard that story. Ooh.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I still think it was
that.
probably, how obsessed
that.
Grandma was with making sure that everything was tracked. And she was probably just making sure at my funeral, you need to make sure that you send out cards and say thank you for people who have given money. So,
wow.
Because that book was just, we never had seen that book before. And for it to fall down just so happens the middle of the night before her funeral, I think that was her little way of reminding everybody to keep track of stuff.
Yeah, wow.
You're pretty good.
And I did read something about having experiences in the night, because it seems that all of these experiences occur at night, well, with the exception of Bruce in the shower. But,
Well, it was at night. It was at night.
So
Debunked.
It didn't happen at night. Doesn't count. So what I read was that, there was a medium that was talking, to somebody about they were having these experiences. And we talk about, the different witching hours and things like that, but that you can be more susceptible to picking up things that you wouldn't normally pick up during the day because you're sleeping. So your body goes into a different kind of state. So you're more receptive to those types of things, because a lot of the times you're either just falling asleep or you feel like you just fell asleep and then something wakes you up. So that is consistent with, I think, the stories that we've told as well, that, right when you're, about dozing, where your mind is relaxed and everything is relaxed and you're more receptive to those types of visitors, that's when those things tend to occur.
Oh, yeah.
One thing Mom always thought there was aliens. She believed strongly in aliens. And she thought a ship had landed somewhere behind the farm.
Well, we've taken yet another turn.
Another little twist.
Talking about
Stay
shifting
tuned
gears.
for our alien podcast.
I never heard that
I hadn't
story,
heard
but
that
she
story
did love
either.
herself a Star magazine. Maybe she was reading too much Star magazine.
So our grandmother, I don't feel like she wasn't really a supernatural believer, but she was superstitious. She was so superstitious that
very
incredibly so.
superstitious.
Yeah. She was not a little stitious. She was
He
superstitious.
was superstitious, yes.
But her favorite reading was Star. So I mean, you can.
Oh, right. She used to read her horoscope.
Oh yeah, it's still there.
Oh yeah, she believed totally in that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think we've definitely shown that the farm was, again, a place of so much celebration. But again, there was just, that creepiness about it, especially at night and especially when you were all alone. But I think of all of our happy celebrations that we had out there too. And I think, again, I don't know about the new owners, but I'm hoping that they're enjoying that space and filling it with good joy.
And I do know the new owners. I've spoken with them, and they have not said anything about that. They've shown us pictures of progress they've made on remodeling, and they love it. They're totally happy there. So I guess we were the spookies.
Well, and that's just another connection, that it's about the connections. It's about the people. It's not about in all cases. It's not necessarily about the structure. It's
True.
the people.
Right.
True.
The people could be haunted, right?
Well, Karen, you and Nancy had the connection with the Ouija out there. That's for sure.
Well, that was.
Oh yeah,
that
we
was
discussed
our
that
last,
Ouija
yeah,
connection.
I bet you did.
That was our last episode. Was the
Yep. Tune into episode 1.
Exactly, for the Ouija
Ouija
connection
board.
between Sister Karen and Sister Nancy. Yes.
I think they bought the spooks in. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Maybe we ushered
we
them
did
in,
something.
yes.
We did something, and it was not good. Like I said, I have not played the Ouija board since that last occurrence, and it's like, no.
I don't recommend it. Nope.
Sorry. I mean, if somebody wants to take the chance.
That was the other thing I was reading a lot about with stories, is that when people do lose a loved one, they feel that Ouija board can provide them with a connection to that lost loved one, where we've talked about it in past episodes, where there is a false sense, whatever you're getting on that other line, you don't know what it is, who it is, if it even is a who. So
and generally probably not who you think you're getting. Hopefully your loved one has
Gone on
to the light, or gone wherever,
moved on.
So it's something else you're getting. Yep. Good warnings for Halloween.
Yes, good warnings, good stories. Thank you, everybody. It was really nice to have you on here.
Oh, thanks for inviting
Anybody have
me.
any other parting words or tales?
And next our group takes on Nashville.
Yes.
Oh. Well, that's scary enough, right?
Lots of those. For our listeners, we are literally scattered around the country, but we do get to have a girls' weekend next weekend in Nashville. So, which will be, this episode will have already aired. We've already been to Nashville by the time this episode airs. So, we'll hopefully have.
I'm sure we will.
No doubt.
Go Elton John.
Yeah. Woo.
Tiny Dancer.
Yeah. Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road. So.
Everybody say your Elton John song on 3, 2, 1.
Goodbye, Yellow.
Oh, I like a I'm Still Standing.
Honky Cat. That's Ella's favorite.
Oh,
Yeah.
Honky
there you go.
Ah, nice. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks, Debbie. Thanks, Nancy,
You
again for
bet.
being your number one guest for now.
All right. Woo.
And we still have to talk to you more about your other haunted house. So
Yeah, my other haunted
we'll
house,
bring you back.
yes.
Yep, your other haunted house. So thank you, everybody. Have a good night. And for now, take it away, Mom.
Thank you for listening. And remember to keep that night light on. Good night, sweet dreams.
If you have a story to share, please send it to notyourmothersbedtimestory@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Not Your Mother's Bedtime Story. And please help us grow by following us on your favorite podcast platform, leaving us a positive review, and telling a friend. Thank you for your support.